I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So in my last video I read chapter 6 in 2 Kings, and this was Syria once again trying to make war against Israel, and Elisha miraculously, both through revelation and through miracles, defending Israel. But now the capital city is besieged by Syria, and we got this horrible drought, this horrible famine, because there's a scarcity of food. They can't get food in or out. And so there's a scarcity of food, and people are turning cannibalistic in order to survive. Very disturbing time period in Israel. So let us pick this up in chapter 7. Elisha prophesies incredible plenty in Samaria. Syrian hosts flee at a noise of battle and leave their possessions. Israel takes spoil from Syrians. Then Elisha said, Hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, Tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. Then a lord on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, Behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. So, if you will recall, in the last reading in chapter 6, it said, the head of an ass was being sold for 20 pieces of silver. That means 80 shekels just for the head of an ass. Now he's saying, look, in very short order, a measure of meal, a measure of flour, or 2 measures of barley will be sold for 1 shekel. So now he's saying food is going to be so abundant that it is going to be cheap. And the king, remember at the end of chapter 6, he sent a messenger and then followed after the messenger. So the king is here talking to Elisha, and the king says he doesn't really believe it. He doesn't really have faith in this prophecy. And Elisha says, well, you're going to see this happen, but you're not going to live long enough to enjoy it. Verse 3. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, Why sit we here until we die? If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit still here, we die also. Now therefore come, and let us fall into the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die. And they rose up in the twilight to go unto the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots, and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites, and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent, and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid it. Then they said one to another, We do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So they came and called unto the porter of the city, and they told them, saying, We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied, and the tents as they were. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. So here you go, I like this. God makes Syria think that there is a noise of an army coming after them. And they get so scared that they don't even take the time to untie their horses. They just run. They were obviously scared of Israel in the first place. So when they hear this idea of another army coming, they just take it off. They just take off. These 4 lepers, they reason, look, if we go into the city, we're going to starve to death. If we sit out here, we're going to starve to death. Might as well go check our luck with the Syrians. What are they going to do? Kill us? When they get there, the Syrians are all gone, so they take some of the food, they eat their fill, they take some of the money, they hide it off, they put a little store out for themselves. They do this twice, but I love their next reasoning is, wait a minute, if we keep doing this, if we try to be greedy and keep this all to ourselves, then God's going to punish us. Something's going to happen. We're not going to have a good time. We got to tell the rest of Israel, and then we'll be blessed. And so they go and tell them. So here we go. Verse 12. And the king arose in the night and said unto his servants, I will now shew you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry, therefore they are gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, When they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive, and get into the city. And one of his servants answered and said, Let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the chariots that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as all the multitude of Israel that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed. And let us send and see. They took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, Go and see. And they went after them unto Jordan, and lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned and told the king, and the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. So like this, the king still doesn't quite believe this is true. He thinks it's a trick. He thinks it's a trap. And so he sends some men out to investigate, and they find out not only did they abandon the camp, but as they are going, as they are fleeing, they are discarding stuff. So are they being weighed down by heavy gold bracelets? Well, let's get rid of those so we can move faster. And things like that. There's a trail of discarded belongings here that Israel is able to gather up. So far, Elisha's prophecy is fulfilled. But let us finish this. Verse 17. And the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have the charge of the gate. And the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God had said, who spake when the king came down to him. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God, and said, Now behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And so it fell out unto him. For the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died. So it says, the Lord upon whose hand he leaned. In other words, the king is not doing good either. He's probably very weak from hunger, just like everybody else. Which kind of gives you a sense, he wasn't a bad king. Wicked man, but not necessarily a bad king, because he wasn't hoarding food to himself. He was suffering just like his people were. And then they go to the gate and say, okay, let's open the gate and let all the people out. And the people are so eager to get out there and get to that food that once the gate is open, they cause a stampede, a mob, and they trample the king to death. So this is the end of this king of Israel. I believe, as I said, this is Jehoram, king of Israel. But it's very interesting. I like the story, but it's kind of a sad ending for the king. I don't think he was a truly evil man. If this is Jehoram, which I think it is, then he did get rid of Baal worship. He wasn't a murderer himself. He didn't go out killing people. He's described as the son of a murderer, but it's never said that he killed anybody. So he's wicked, but he's not downright evil. But because of his lack of faith, he is not allowed to enjoy the spoils. Kind of sad. But we will pick this up. I believe we're going to be reading portions of chapter 8 next. So see you there.